Hey friends, just the other day I heard this story on the radio of an airline stewardess, and she was explaining the difficulties of her job, and primarily because he has to deal with a lot of people for her entire job. And she was saying that one of the things that gripes her is two things. One is that the overhead bins on an airplane are shared space, and so respect that and respect the people around you by making sure that you only use a small portion of that space and that it's near your seat. And the second is that if the seatbelt sign is on, it's because the captain knows something that the rest of us don't, and maybe they heard from a plane up ahead that it's going to be a bumpy path ahead, and so we should be secure. She goes, but my job above all else is to be kind and to smile and to be there for people when they need me. And so she was telling the story of it was late September one year, and this man comes on, and he doesn't have his suitcase. He just had this trash bag full of stuff, and she was extremely kind of concerned about it at first. And anyway, this man is in the 12th row, but as he decides to put this up on the second row storage bin, and he was kind of annoyed, but it wasn't a problem, and so she was just being kind and didn't say much. And then later on in the flight, the man apparently had to use the restroom, but the safety seatbelt sign was on. But the man continued to get up and go to the bathroom and had to stand and wait in a line, which, as you know, is a no-no on airplanes. Anyway, and so this woman felt obligated to just say something to him. And so she comes up to him and says, "Are you flying for business or pleasure?" And the man goes, "Neither." Now, one thing you need to know is this plane was in the air on late September of 2001. And he said that he was living in California, but his son was a first responder right after the attacks on 9/11. And so he was coming back to New York to pick up his son's belongings. But the only thing that was left of his son and of his belongings was a tattered fireman's outfit because he was one of the first to respond and lost his life when the tower fell. And while this is a metaphor, it reminds me that on Sunday morning, whether we know it or not, our experience together is a little bit like an airplane. In that those on staff and those that are regular attending to the church and those especially on the welcoming team, we get the opportunity to interact with people, and we don't always know why they're there, but we get to be kind and to welcome them. And some people will be coming because they bring a whole lot of baggage and past issues with the church and pain that they are still wrestling with and are grumpy about. Sometimes they may have woken up that morning and had a big fight with their spouse or with their kids and they don't know what to do, or so maybe just that week they got a diagnosis that they don't know what to do with. Whatever the case might be, we all bring stuff into that room. And it's our job to be kind and to smile and to welcome them and hope that God does God's work. So to remind you that if you're part of the church and you're a regular part of the church and you're there almost every week and you're not involved in any ministry at all whatsoever, I want you to know you are actually involved in the most important ministry the church has. And that is that whenever people come to our doors on Sunday mornings, that we want them to feel welcomed, to not feel invisible, to know that they're loved. And so whether that's through a smile, whether it's through a handshake, whatever it might be, for that period of time where we are somewhat trapped together for just a moment, we get to welcome them. And so I would encourage you to think about Sunday morning in that way, to do that, to be part of that ministry, to seek somebody you don't know, even if they've been there forever, to seek somebody you don't know and to welcome them to ensure that nobody ever feels invisible. So lastly, this Sunday is Mill Creek Park, and so if you want to go serve the homeless in the park with Barb, and there's a whole crew of people that go and do that, her email address is below, so feel free to email her and see how you might be able to help. And then this Sunday we will have Keely O'Brien's thank you reception at 9 a.m. in the Connect. So I would encourage you to come. You don't have to necessarily bring anything. You can bring a card to her if you'd like, but you don't really have to bring anything. Just bring yourself and be prepared to thank her. And then lastly, we will continue our Thoughtful Christian series this Sunday with the question of do all religions worship the same God? In other words, is Christianity unique in that we worship the only true God, or do all religions really worship the same God, with just different expressions? So we're going to wrestle with that and talk more about that this Sunday. So I will see you at 10 a.m.